tasting a family-free childhood through the long dark and fear days. The entire prime of youth engulfed into severe darkness and ill-treated to the end. It felt like there was no chance to survive in this life, but such the life and the condition or body has ironed down all kinds of adversity, leveling all challenges and becoming a symbol of will, energy, and human heart. These are some aspects about the philanthropist's life. Miss Huỳnh Tiểu Hương, founder and director of Quê Hương Humanitarian Center, located in Tân Long Quarter, Tân Đông Hiệp Ward, Dĩ An Township, Bình Dương Province, Vietnam. Just right after her first Christ to the world, Miss Tiểu Hương was abandoned by her own natural parents. Such the abandonment is often to be thought that it will never go on. There is no forum any longer for her to touching. The beautiful orphan has to make herself float along the constantly great storms and hurricanes of high mountain and thick forests. And then the desire to survive grows so intensely that it helped her to step through such a violent childhood or enter her beautiful prime of youth. But unfortunately, in the very bright time, Miss Tiểu Hương kept experiencing the days which are much worse than that, when one or another time she was being done harms and bullied by the attractive gangsters, the cold-blooded procurers, and the green-bearded ogres. More brutally, they repeatedly took action to kill her to hide their crimes. But as a miracle, the fragile and quick Tiểu Hương was already fiercely against any of their plots and tricks. In spite of having some fragile and slightless hope, Miss Tiểu Hương still tried to cast to reach the light of life, leaving behind her back the darkness and the murder that are always waiting to engulf herself. Miss Tiểu Hương won. And for the first time in her life, did she felt the light of love and humanity, faith and hope. It was in the early 1980s when she met Chow Lai Wang, the Taiwanese benefactor. With the compassion and the sympathy he dedicated to the condition being abused to the extreme end, but still keeping the dignity and the honor, he decided to offer Miss Tiểu Hương 20 taels of gold so that she could be much safer in her journey to reach her own light. She, however, neither takes the taels herself nor uses them to take revenge to those who had buried her for a long time. Instead, she did spend the gold saving unlucky, miserable people so that the life won't see any second Tiểu Hương at all. Miss Tiểu Hương did spend the 20 gold taels of uplift dreaming queens to children who are orphaned, wandering, and just like flies along the streets. She is also willing to support the disabled and the lowly elderly without any back. And her home has become a safe and peaceful shelter to the unlucky fate. They can drop in there whenever they are hungry to have food and drink, and whenever they get sick to be cared by her caring hands. She was herself hardworking and struggled with all kinds of jobs to earn lots of money to cater for these conditions, from real estate, working as an interpreter for these Chinese businessmen, car dealers, and opening a pure drinking water company. With her intelligence and quick-witted way, Miss Tiểu Hương quickly became a businesswoman in the real estate circle. In 1987, when life for most Vietnamese was still very difficult, she already had a rich and regal life, having dozens of cars and villas worth billions of Vietnam dong. During the very time, Miss Tiểu Hương was allowed to settle in the United States. However, contrary to the thinking many people that Miss Tiểu Hương will settle in the United States because it is the promising land and the dream of many people, it was not her choice. Miss Tiểu Hương chose the settle between Vietnam and the United States so that she can have good chances to enlarge her economic growth, timely help, and share with certain less unfortunate circumstances. Moreover, Miss Tiểu Hương also actively took in humanitarian programs and events staged by the central and the local. In the 2000s, she officially became a member of Vietnam's Association for Disabled Children Rescue, Vietnam Red Cross Association, Vietnam Fatherland Front Committee. With a warm heart always staying quite open to unfortunate children, Miss Tiểu Hương always hopes to set up a socially supportive facility so that she can herself protect and take care of the young birds that are in need life. In 2001, after loads of hardship, efforts and support from the central and local agencies, Quê Hương Humanitarian Center was set up in Tân Phú District, Ho Chi Minh City, and she has realized her wish while turning Quê Hương Shelter into the last resort or lifebuoy for abandoned children. Their lives have been reborn from here. Just because of that, the number of abandoned children at Quê Hương Humanitarian Center keeps constantly increasing. Thus, Mother Tiểu Hương came to Bình Dương to enlarge the center. After the initial difficulties in terms of the establishment permission of the second facility, construction procedures, Quê Hương Humanitarian Center, the second facility, was founded in Tân Đông Hiệp Ward, Giang Town in 2003. From here, her children have the good chances for their physically and intellectually comprehensive growth. When still in the cradle, they are taken care all the way from every piece of fruit to naps. When reaching their school age, they all go to schools and study aptitude subjects, foreign languages, informatics, to maximize their abilities. Over 20 bittersweet years, along with the children's lives, what makes her happiness and proudest is not the titles or other people praises, but it is the growing up on a daily basis of these beloved children. She awards the certificates of merit at the school year's end, the sparkling medals of sports competitions, and university graduation diploma of each child is the priceless and meaningful gift and the sweet fruits that she deserves to have. Doing the social benefaction and bringing up the society's children, which initially sounds simple and deserves to be honored. However, during such the humanitarian journey, Miss Huỳnh Tiểu Hương has tasted enough kinds of bitterness and herself embraced the feelings that are not easily revealed to anybody. That is when she must alone fight against the wrong and false allegations of the two newspapers in Vietnamese in the US, Viet News and Saigon USA News. The two newspapers did claim Tiểu Hương is a top-ranking agent for the Vietnamese government and is a spy responsible for propaganda in the name of humanitarian. An article even made the further distant hint that the orphans taken into the above humanitarian center are in fact the would-be victims of the sex industry, being the illegitimate children of corrupt and decadent officials of Vietnam. Being determined to pursue the case to the end, on August 16, 2006, Ms. Huỳnh Tiểu Hương won the lawsuit against Viet News and Saigon USA News because of giving false news. The two newspapers have to publicly post their apologies in the front page notice in both English and Vietnamese to correct their false contents. Apart from such the apologies posted to correct the false and defame stuff, Ms. Tiểu Hương was also compensated a large sum, but she did not get it. As of her, the two newspaper signatures to the lawsuit are the most valuable and meaningful compensation to her honor. And to the American people, Ms. Tiểu Hương was the first Vietnamese woman to win the two newspapers right in their old state. It was thought that after her winning over the two major newspapers in the USA, everybody will see her through, further sympathize and share with her. But Ms. Tiểu Hương keeps facing bad information about her. There was one time when a key newspaper in Vietnam wrote, "Many children are not well cared at Quê Hương Humanitarian Center," and Quê Hương Humanitarian Center was illegally found. Some people think that she did not receive any more children. Facing such the unfavorable information, instead of explaining and complaining, Ms. Tiểu Hương silently takes it and sees that the children's caring and raising as well as the center's growth is the most obvious explanation to the community. And then the sharing and the sympathy of the social community, along with the local and the central leaders and the donors from all over the state, help Quê Hương Humanitarian Center further expanded on a daily basis. From the initial area of only 2,100 square meters of land and rows of simply built rooms and classrooms, mostly covered by thatch, bamboo and newer household leaves, so far the area of Quê Hương Center has expanded to 12,000 square meters, with such of the full of infrastructure as dining room, kindergarten, trade training room, housing rooms for boys and girls, playground, photo gallery for late top-ranking Võ Nguyên Giáp, temple for Huỳnh surname. In particular, in 2016, Quê Hương Center completed and put into use Quê Hương Preschool, Primary and Junior High School, as well as received a new facility in the third hamlet Hàm Tân Bình Thuận from Đức Khải John Stock Company and inaugurated the third facility in Tân An, Vĩnh Cửu, Đồng Nai to open up many good changes which can change the lives of miserable conditions. Not only has Miss Tiểu Hương fulfilled the role of a mom and a dad so that she can offer her children the life as warm and prosperous as that of many other children, but she has also been in charge of socially charitable benefactions from outside. She is ready to protect miserable lives in need of being supported and shared no matter where it is in the S-shaped land. Apart from that, Miss Tiểu Hương heart was also wide open to unfortunate fates outside the Vietnamese border, such as the trip of charitable benefactions to Cambodia in 2009, or the relief handing activities for natural calamity and typhoon victims in the Philippines in 2013. All of her life, Miss Tiểu Hương has set aside all of her personal wishes and happiness as well as the melancholy which she cannot share with anyone so that she can work on the journey in God with light and love. Recognizing her merits and great contributions to humanitarian work, for many recent years, various Vietnamese agencies, departments and localities have consistently offered Miss Tiểu Hương such the great awards and titles as the Certificates of Merit of the Governmental Prime Minister of the Socialist Republic of Vietnam from 2002 to 2005, the Certificates of Merit from Vietnam Federland Front, the Central Vietnam Red Cross Association from 2003 to 2017, the Certificates of Merit from Vietnam Association for Handicapped Children Rescue from 1998 to 2016, the Certificates of Merit of Ho Chi Minh City's People's Committee, Bình Dương and Cà Mau Province's People's Committee. Miss Tiểu Hương was also honorably awarded the title of the Woman in Renovation Times, chosen by Vietnam Women's Union in 2005, recognized the record title of the woman with the highest number of children in Vietnam handed by Vietnam Newspaper of Record. The title of the woman who stirred the pulse of the nation was handed to her in the program co-staged by Vietnam Women's Union, Vietnam Economic Times and Vietnam Television VTV1 in 2006. Particularly on November the 30th, 2011, Miss Tiểu Hương set the record of the householder with the thickest and longest family record book in Vietnam, certified by the Center of Vietnam Record Book, with a length of over 3 meters and the thickness of over 3 centimeters. In 2013, Miss Tiểu Hương was honored by the Philippine Parliament as the World Charity Ambassador. Being a small dose of flavor as her name, such the aroma has been frequently pervading everywhere. To cherish the aroma, during the past few years, hundreds of articles and reports on Miss Huỳnh Tiểu Hương have been posted on the mass media at home and abroad. This has also been the source of greatly spiritual boost and encouragement to help her be always set in her footsteps along the humanitarian journey down the road.